Hi, I'm Mary Losi, and this is my unit plan screencast. For my first lesson, I chose to do a lesson on writing. Based on the book Out of My Mind, my students will be able to explore and share their personal meanings of self-confidence. The vocabulary that we will be touching is based on words of self-confidence. The only materials that the student will need is a computer. The Common Core standards that I am touching base with are writing narratives to show development, the ability to produce clear and coherent writing, and the use of technology to share writing. For prior knowledge, the student should already know how to use a computer and who Melody is and how she deals with self-confidence. The questions that I will ask for clarification are: what is self-confidence? How can it be built? How does Melody do this? For the lesson, my anticipatory set that will hook the students is sharing a story of a time when I challenged my confidence for the better and how I grew from it. The objective and purpose of this is that students will write a narrative which shows a similar challenge being overcame as Melody's. For instructional input, I will explain new information based on sharing a template for a narrative. For modeling, I will share a simple narrative that I have written previously. For guided practice, I will provide an opportunity for students to brainstorm or collaborate. After this, when we check for understanding, I will check by individually asking students to share with me their ideas in a brief summary. After that, for independent practice, students will have to type their own narratives. After they have typed their narratives, for closure, I will have students print their narratives to swap them with a friend for peer review overnight. We will also have a conversation about Melody's feats. For differentiation, I have split this into 3 different levels. Level 1 will write a 2-page narrative of a time when they gained self-confidence. Level 2 will write a 1.5-page narrative, and Level 3 will write a 1-page narrative. For assessment and homework, my students will swap papers with someone for peer evaluation as homework. My second lesson is a lesson on speaking and listening. Students will be able to participate in a verbal conversation without speaking through the use of a word board. On the slide, I have made a sample word board that could be used for somebody who is nonverbal. The one I have made is extremely basic, but my students will create something a little more personalized. This is just an example. The vocabulary that we will cover are everyday phrases like the ones on my word board. The materials that we will have are whiteboards, markers, and erasers. This is eliminating technology from my lesson. The Common Core standards that I am touching are engaging in a variety of collaborative discussions, presenting with multimedia images or a verbal display, and drawing evidence from literary texts. The prior knowledge that my students will know are basic communication skills. The questions that I will ask for clarification are to ask students how Melody communicates with others. How is that different from how we do? My anticipatory set that will hook the students is asking students if there was ever a time where they were in a conversation and couldn't say something that they really wanted to. The objective and purpose is for students to learn what it is like to be like Melody and be nonverbal. Instructional input will be the explanation of what a word board is. Then I will model and share my example word board and try to communicate with students for 2 minutes while using it. Guided practice. I will then have students create a list of common words and phrases that they use regularly. Then to check for understanding, I will ask students to share examples on their lists with the class. After that, we will do an independent practice where students will have students create their own word boards to then share. For closure, I will have the students have a short practice conversation before wrap-up. This conversation is about challenges and experiences. Then it will transition into the homework assignment. The homework assignment will be to make a list of other terms that would be useful on your word board at home. They will observe things that they have said in conversations that they have had with their families in order to edit their board. For differentiation, I have 3 different levels. The first level is for them to communicate in a 10-minute conversation using at least 8 terms on the board. The second level will communicate in a 10-minute conversation using at least 6 terms on the board. And then level 3 will communicate in a 5-minute conversation using at least 5 terms on their board. My last lesson is in the area of the language arts. Students will be able to use a computer to write a letter to melody that compares and contrasts tendencies and lifestyles. The vocab that we will touch down on are empathy and cerebral palsy. The materials that students will use are paper, pen, an envelope, and a computer. The Common Core standards that we are touching on are analyzing how individuals grow, the use of a keyboard to type a piece of writing and then collaborate, and to draw evidence from literary support. Technology will be used in this lesson. The prior knowledge that students should already know is what cerebral palsy is. Questions that I will ask to clarify this are, how do other characters in the book show melody feelings of empathy? The anticipatory set is that will hook the students is sharing a story of a time when I was limited or when others felt sorry for me. The objective and purpose is for students to learn the mechanics of typing a letter and draw comparisons from a book. The instructional input that will explain new information is to have students create a list of topics and points they would like to make. For modeling, I will show a template of how to write a letter along with providing an example. For guided practice, I will have my students share collaboratively their points and outlines. For checking for understanding, I will have students share a point with the class. Then, for independent practice, students will take their lists and type up their letters. For closure, I will have students share with a small group and wrap up with a discussion. The homework assignment that I have created is to proofread their letter and have it printed for the following day. For differentiation, Level 1 will make a typed letter consisting of 3 paragraphs. Level 2 will make a typed letter with 2 paragraphs, and Level 3 will make a typed letter to melody with at least 1 paragraph. The accommodations and modifications for this lesson and the others are combined with the differentiation. Any other modification or accommodation that the student may need will be allowed.